I wanted to put this video together today for people that have been through injuries or people that are older now, because I recently turned 54, and over the last number of years, my sporting endeavors that I used to do have caught up with me in some way, shape or form, and having to go through multiple surgeries for hip replacements and that has been an interesting journey, because I've had to rediscover lots of things and had to realize there's specific limitations which you need to work around or work with in order to keep moving forward. But the hardest part of the whole journey wasn't, and the surgeries were hard, don't get me wrong. If you've had your hips replaced, your knees replaced, other things done, it's a tough experience. But the toughest part of the whole thing is the mental journey you have to go on in order to overcome this stuff, because it does make you feel, you know, when you have a surgery done, where you do have, like I've had both hips replaced in the last 12 months, and I've been a very, very physical person in my life, from professional bodybuilding to martial arts to pistol shooting to movie making, fight choreography. I mean, I've done lots of very physical things. And understanding now there's a certain amount of limitation on what you can and can't do if you want longevity from the joint. And mentally, it's been a real hurdle, and it's taken me a while to get through that. And I'm a pretty mentally strong person, but it's been a tough experience. So I want to just put a few pointers out that I've learnt on this journey through this so far that's maybe helpful to a few people out there. And I think the first thing I found was I had to start learning to journal again, you know, setting small goals and working towards them, because I had to learn to walk again. I had to learn all these things that I used to take for granted once again. So journaling has been an interesting experience again for me, because I used to use that in terms of winning competitions and titles. I would write my goals as if I'd already achieved them. You know, I am this because I outwork, outthink, outtrain people. You know, I would write all these things in a journal every morning, and I would then write all my training after that. And so what I've done now, I started putting down, I am walking again. I'm doing martial arts again. I'm moving back into pistol shooting again. So I would write the goals down that I wanted as if I'd already had them underway. And then I started putting in the processes of how am I going to walk again? What does my training consist of? So then I would start learning to do frame walking, you know, using the crutches to walk. And I worked through that piece by piece. And I did lots of work on my own because of that. And so I kept it on a regular basis. I wrote down the next day's training, and I would keep working towards those things. And that helped a lot. So I would recommend that as number one. Number two is mentally. I mean, you have to be very careful that you don't let your mind, you know, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Well, idle minds are worse. You know, the idle mind, it can take you to a very dark place very, very quickly. And you also, especially as a man, I want to talk especially as men, it takes you to a place of feeling less of a man, less useful, less able to do what you could do before. And it's a very slippery slope. And so you have to learn to manage that. And so for me, you know, I went through a few moments, don't worry about that, but getting through them and working my way back was the biggest part. And journaling helped, but action, to me, the only reaction is action. So when I started feeling that way, you know, I know on a mental health scale, you know, half an hour of exercise leads to 12 hours of better brain health. So I would get up and do something. I would get up and walk. I would get up and try and do some exercise, some stretching, to try and help me get back faster. So if you are going through things, remember, some exercise in some small, and I'm not talking about something dramatic, I'm talking about get on your feet and do something, even if it's going to the mailbox and back. Small achievements build up, and it becomes that snowball effect that the more you do these small achievements, the bigger they get, and over time, they become much larger and much easier to deal with. So I would set myself these small goals on a daily basis and work towards them. The other thing was diet. I mean, most of us, our diets go to absolute custard when we're going through stuff. We don't eat well, and we're a lot more sedentary than we were before. And so especially if you've gone through an injury, my hip injuries were so bad, and I'll put up the x-rays to show you, they were so bad that they were some of the worst they'd seen. And I was still trying to do my best to walk, but I was on crutches for over a year, trying to get around before I had the surgeries. And it wasn't because I was waiting, it's because I was told it was all these other things first. And look, my knees are shot from years. I've got screws in my left leg. I've had plenty of injuries in my sporting career, but there's ways to get through these things. And so the biggest thing on top of that was diet, because if you do get fat and you do get overweight, so every time you add your body weight up, your blood pressure goes up too. So you have to be very mindful when you're not exercising, you're not eating well, it's a compounding effect. So you have to really look at your diet, like I had to look at my diet to bring it back down so I could bring my weight down and bring the quality of what I was doing up. So I haven't changed body weight dramatically, but I've lost a lot of body fat and I've maintained a level of athleticism to a point now where I still can train. I'm back doing martial arts. I'm weight training every day with my son. I'm always out doing stuff now. I'm back pistol shooting in competitions. Not very well, but I'm back doing it. And they're baby steps. Like, I know where I used to be in competitive pistol shooting and I was doing really well. My scores were right up there with some of the best. But since that, over the last 4.5 odd years, where things have degenerated, so did my shooting ability. And now that I'm coming back, I have to understand that yes, my scores are way down here. My shooting ability for now is way down here, but that's my start point. I don't get down on the fact of where I used to be. You know, what's that old saying, used to be's don't make no honey? I don't get down on the fact of where I used to be. This is where I am now. And this is my baseline to now work off to go upwards. And I think we need to realize that we set ourselves a new parameter to work to, a new baseline to work to, and we build up from there. Don't get down on where you were. It's the same as the mindset thing I talk to many people about, which is, you know, that mindset of what I can't do. So many people, and it happened to me many years ago when I severed the tendons off my left leg and I couldn't walk for nearly a year. And I looked at all the things that I couldn't do. But I really quickly learned to flip the switch on that one. I thought, you know what? Okay, I can't do that, so don't even think about that. Whilst I can't do that, that's fine, but what can I still do? So I wrote a screenplay, I started writing a book, I did all this stuff that I could use my other facets of my mind and my hands and still work with and do, instead of getting hung up on the stuff I couldn't do. Because if you spend your time in that negative space, it doesn't help you at all. So it's very important that we start going, right, well, what can I still do? And apply your thinking process to that. And if you're getting back into walking or moving or doing something again that you haven't been able to do, then take your time and baby step it. Don't wish you were there. You have to work towards getting those baby goals and those small steps, and then eventually, time over time, you will get there. And they're the 3 big points that have helped me a lot. And the other one is great family and friends and people who assist you and can be around you and just offer support. And if friends don't call you and don't check in on you, a lot of the time it isn't because they don't care. Everyone's lives these days have so much to deal with, and we get hung up in our own worlds. And it's not through lack of caring, it's because we're usually trying to survive our own fights. So when people don't call you, it feels tough, of course. And suddenly, you know, if things aren't going well, like when I went from film and I stepped away from my film career, all these, what my mum always called fair weather friends, vanished overnight. But I've always had this group of core friends, and you know, the most insulting human beings in history that have always looked out for me, and vice versa, who I know would do anything for me and I do anything for them. And if you have that small core group around you, they'll always be there. And just remember, if you're watching this from the other side of the fence and you're not the one going through these things, remember, people don't reach out for help. So when people are having a hard time and coming back from something, they often won't reach out because they're fighting so hard to survive in their own world and their own recovery. So reach in and help them out. You know, it's up to us to see that stuff and see that they're not communicating, and see that they're not around, and check in on them and just see how they're going, you know, how they're going. And there's people going through way worse things than I ever went through. I've got mates that are wheelchair bound now and worse. We check in on each other, you know, because A, that's what mates do, and B, there's always someone worse off than you. So just sometimes it's worth throwing a hand out and seeing who you can help up with it. But I'm greatly appreciative to be back doing my martial arts. I'm back doing my weight training. I'm back pistol shooting. I'm back on the speaking circuit. I'm back doing all of the things that I love so much and that I've had to step back from for so long to deal with all these other things. So appreciate what you've got, appreciate the people around you, and fight every day to keep stepping forward and find those tiny goals to achieve. And no matter how you feel, you know, win that battle on the bed when the little voice is saying yes and the one saying no that's telling you not to do it. Just flick him off and go do it anyway. Alrighty, GVB, have a great day, guys and girls. And if you know someone's going through a tough time, give them a call.